265 platinum to buy this thing. If you do want to build this, it will cost you 1 Forma, 4,000 Rubido, 15,000 salvage, and 5 neurodes for a dojo researched blueprint. That's not bad at all actually, but that's probably because it's inside of the Tenno Lab. The Tenno Lab doesn't have its own kind of weird resource. This weapon had better be just straight up amazing. Stats wise, I'm really glad that I added the ultimate fire into this, or the charge fire in this case. You can see the difference. It does more puncture, less impact, less slash, way more crit. Well, I say way, it's what, 8 more crit? More crit multiplier though, which is more important. Slower fire rate, little bit slower reload, little bit less status. Expected because it's moving it on to crit, which makes sense. How to kill a weapon. Release a decent weapon and put 0 Forma on it. Wow. 3 Forma later, I did find myself not bothering with a 4th because putting heavy caliber in this kind of ruined the weapon. It's standard fire mode, it works just like a Gorgon or even the Soma or the Supra, which is great. I like weapons that do this. Its secondary fire, however, has 100% accuracy despite the fact you've got heavy caliber in there, so its aiming is really good. But it does consume 10 rounds every time you use the secondary fire, so you will find yourself using the primary a little bit more than the secondary, which that's where heavy caliber just kind of, I don't want to say ruined the weapon, but it was much more accurate, much better to use it without it sacrificing some damage, of course, but if you're missing with most of the rounds, you're sacrificing damage anyway because you're not hitting anything. So I basically went with the classic Serration Split Chamber. High Voltage and Malignant Force can be swapped for any elemental combo. This just added Corrosive on. They can be swapped at any time for anything. I have Point Strike Vital Sense in here for increased crit chance and crit damage. Then threw on Orgon Scope because that is amazing with the secondary fire. If you can land the headshot, its crit increase was just insane. And then Bladed Rounds, of course, then increasing crit damage even more. This doesn't affect on the stats of the weapon when you put them in there, but when they do kick in, Orgon Scope and Bladed Rounds work really well for crit-based weapons. Sadly though, with these in, the base stats for the primary crit chance only went up to 62.5. The secondary did go up to 82.5 though. Huge increase on the crit. The secondary fire mode for this also seems to have a inert punch through to it, because I found myself killing a few enemies with it at once, which is great because the primary fire didn't really seem to have much punch through at all. The biggest downside I found to this weapon is, despite its 75 magazine capacity, or 80 it's 80 magazine capacity, once you do have this thing spooled up, you can of course stop shooting at one enemy, quickly aim and shoot at another enemy, and you've still got just a bit of the spool up still going, so you still shoot a lot of rounds. That 80 magazine also wears out really quick if you're using the alternate fire, because again, it consumes 10 rounds per shot, so you can only fire it 8 times if you use just the secondary, and then you have to reload the thing. But with its cheap build cost, this thing was actually more impressive than I'm kind of leading it with. Its primary crit chance was more than enough, 62.5, with of course Orgon Scope. When you do land that headshot, it will add 135% extra crit chance while aiming for 9 seconds. So that increases that anyway, so the primary crit chance was really nice. The secondary is way better. But if you just have, you've got to remember, if I'm shooting at this person and I want to shoot at this person, don't keep firing in between. You can burst fire this thing to maintain a little bit of ammo consumption, which will save it slightly, but putting ammo mods in this kind of took way too much damage off it and made it slightly unusable. But while actually forming this, I was trying to do the secondary at the same time, and as I said in yesterday's, sadly I found that much better than this, so did side with that more than this. But once I took the secondary off and concentrated more on the primary itself, it actually turned out to be a fairly decent weapon. I love the animation of the barrel spinning and the way the magazine comes out. It's a pretty decent looking weapon. I just wish that the fire rate of 11.67 on its standard fire, but only 10 for its charged shot on the secondary. I've said this before with charge firing weapons. I just wish that the charge shot didn't automatically release, because you'll find yourself missing a few rounds when you do that. If you could hold the charge once it's fully charged and then obviously release the button to let the fire go, let the round go, that would be much better for charge shots. This whole it charges and auto fires does make it much easier to use, but sadly you will find yourself missing a few rounds unless you have a really good mouse, which unfortunately I don't, so I miss a lot of these charged shots, but that just comes down to bad mouse more than anything else. I just wish it would hold the charge. That's got to be the biggest downside to this. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.